Hi there, today in this video I am going to talk about the accessibility features of the Mac OS. We get to the accessibility features by going into the system preferences. And it's right there. The first category that it has is seeing. And the first item under seeing is display. The settings under this are pretty much self-explanatory. But I will show you what they do. Vert colors does this. And I got Google and Facebook already loaded in my browser. I'll bring those up really quick. Here is Google and here is Facebook. Facebook almost looks better this way. I'm going to minimize Firefox for a minute and uncheck this. And now I'm going to check grayscale. Let's bring up Firefox again. Facebook and Google. I'm going to uncheck grayscale now. I'm going down to enhance contrast. As I slowly slide the bar over, we can see how it changes. There's not much to say about the cursor size option, except it can go up to this big. Next I'm going down to the next item under seeing, which is zoom. Let's start with checking the use keyboard shortcuts to zoom. These work really well. You can set how far it zooms at a time. I will be talking more about that in a few seconds. Next there is the use skull gesture with modifier keys to zoom. This feature is pretty cool. But due to some limitations of using an AC device, I couldn't use this feature myself. My device doesn't have a way to actually hold a function key down to work in conjunction with my trackball. Anyway, you can hold Control down and zoom in or out with your mouse. Next there is the zoom follows the keyboard focus. This feature wouldn't work right for me. It's supposed to follow the cursor when you use the arrows on the keyboard. I tried it in a Word document and my cursor just disappeared. The next option is zoom style. There is two settings under this: full screen and picture in picture. I've been using the full screen option up to now. I'm going to change it to picture in picture. As you can see, this gives us a rectangle that magnifies whatever my cursor is over. I'm going to switch back to full screen for now, and I'm going to select more options. As you can see, this brings up some settings so that we can customize the zooming feature. Like set range for rapid zooming in and out. I have it set pretty low right now, so it doesn't go to an extreme when I hit zoom. But you can really go to a dumb extreme like this. I don't understand the show preview rectangle when zoomed out. I was unable to figure out what it is. For the last part is pretty straightforward. The default is only when the pointer reaches the edge. The continuously with pointer works like this. And lastly, so the pointer is at or near the center of the screen. Now I'm going to change the zoom style to picture in picture. This feature has a lot more options. Again, we have our magnification level. Next we have window position options. As default it is set on follow mouse cursor, which looks like this. Stationary is kind of strange. It looks like this. I like the tiled along edge option. I'm going to change it back to follow the mouse cursor for now. Under cursor style, we have system cursor or crosshair. We can invert colors, which only inverts colors inside the magnified window. Next there are speak items under mouse after delay. And we can set how long we want. This feature sounds better than it actually is. While testing it out, I found that it only reads some stuff and would skip other stuff. I found that for surfing the web, Safari worked much better than Firefox. It didn't even read the links in Firefox's, where in Safari, I found that it even read the body copy of the page. But I also found that certain sites worked better. I found the adjust size and location really confusing. When you click it, the box gets an OK in the center of it. I was expecting another dialog box to come up. It took me a couple of minutes to figure out you can just grab an edge and resize it that way. It's the same way when you use the stationary setting under the window position section. And with the tiled along edge option, you just click and drag the magnify box to whichever edge you want it to be. The next section under Seeing is VoiceOver. This is what is known as a screen reader. I've worked with many other screen readers, and I actually like VoiceOver the best. But it's very complex to learn and use, so I'm going to just briefly talk about VoiceOver. I'm starting out using the default settings. It's a keyboard-driven application, so there is a lot of keyboard shortcuts you have to learn. The shortcuts are 3 or 4 keys long. You can find a full list of the keyboard shortcuts from going to the website that is at the bottom of the screen now, so the navigation could be tricky for someone with motor control issues, and for an AAC user the 4 key combinations would be virtually impossible without some very advanced macro programming. But anyway, one of the really nice features of VoiceOver is with browsing the web. You're supposed to be able to navigate through text multiple ways, like by word, sentence, and paragraph. During my testing, I couldn't get these features to work. It would read the entire body of text usually only one time on a website. I got it to go paragraph by paragraph. But even in a plain text editor like TextEdit, I had a difficult time figuring out how to get it to read the body text of the document. I found it very confusing and frustrating. There is another option. Within your web browser you can press Option, Control and U. This brings up something called the web router.
To enter the Firefox 1 Facebook tables 0 items. Landmarks 6 items. Banner. Search. Apps navigation. Reminders, people you may know, and content. Main. Links 194 items. Headings 22 items. Added 1 item. 1. Facebook. 4. PAGES more. 4. GROUPS more. Firefox busy. Form controls 91 items. Firefox ready. You are currently in a VoiceOver menu. This is a list of VoiceOver menu options. To nav, nothing is in the VoiceOver cursor. System preferences, accessibility window, accessibility features table, VoiceOver, VoiceOver image, selected.
This sorts the content of the page. The router has 4 subcategories: headings, form controls, web spots and links. Firefox had 2 more submenus, tables, and landmarks. Web spots are something you have to mostly custom create yourself. But it's to my understanding that some websites might have web spots already programmed on them. I'm not going to get into how to program web spots in this video. That's the only feature that I'm going to highlight in this video. But I'm going to talk a little bit about the options under the VoiceOver utility. I'm going to show all of the options, but only going to talk about a couple of the settings. The General tab is very basic. Next there's verbosity. Under this we have speech, braille text, announcements, and hints. Next tab is speech. Under this tab we have speech and pronunciation. Personally, I think the default voice is a little fast and sounds like a digitally generated voice.
Alex, the best way to predict the future is to invent it.
So let's play with this sum. I'm going to change the rate down to 30 and try it.
Rate 30. The best way to predict the future is to invent it.
As we can tell, that is a little too slow. Let's set the rate at 55 and the pitch at 55, leave the volume at 100, and change the intonation to 55 as well.
Pitch 55. The best way to predict the future is to invent it.
Doesn't that sound much better? By default, the drop-down menu only has 3 female voices and 3 male voices, and in my opinion, they pick the worst voices available. But if we go down here to customize, it brings up a bunch of different voices, including 14 English-speaking female voices and 6 English-speaking male voices. I like Allison and both Samantha's the best for female voices, and I like Tom the best for a male voice. Let's check some of these and uncheck some. As you can see, the new voices have to be downloaded. I have a fast connection, so it shouldn't take too long. You can also download other voices off of the internet. You can also assign different voices to certain tasks, like content, status, type, attributes, and voiceover menu. Next we have pronunciation. In here we can set how punctuation marks and emoji are pronounced, and if we want to, we can specify a program. Next we have navigation. We have a few options, but nothing really exciting, so I'm not going to talk about this tab. Next is web. We have 3 subcategories under this tab: navigation, page loading, and web router. Under navigation, we have options related to navigate web page by. When navigating web tables, navigate image, and enable live regions. Under page loading, we have when loading a new web page loads. Next, there's the web router. There's actually 19 different category items that you can have the web router go through. There is links, headings, form controls, web spots, tables, landmarks, auto web spots, frames, buttons, text fields, images, lines, lists, live regions, non-visited links, visited links, static text, radio groups, and last but not least, checkboxes. The next tab is sound. This tab is short and sweet. We only have mute sound effects. Enable audio docking. Enable positional audio, and under output device, we can choose system default or built-in output. The next tab is visuals. This tab has 6 subcategories: voiceover cursor, caption panel, braille panel, touch, and menus. Under voiceover cursor, we have show voiceover cursor magnification, and when reading text, move voiceover cursor by. Under this we can choose sentence or word. Under the caption panel, we have show caption panel font size, rows in caption panel, and caption panel transparency. Under the braille panel, we have show braille panel. This has 3 options: off, on, or automatic. Next there is braille panel font color. We have our choice of basic colors. Then there's the braille panel font size. And the last option on this tab is braille transparency. Under touch, we just have background transparency. Under menus, we have voiceover menus font size and voiceover menus transparency. The next tab is commanders. This tab has 4 subcategories. I'm not going to name every item under this tab. I'm just going to quickly run through it with the mouse. Next tab is Braille. This tab has two subcategories. Layout and displays again. I'm going to just go through this with the mouse. Besides, you have to have special equipment to even use this feature. The last tab is Activities. Here you can create custom actions. This is way too advanced to get into this video. We have hundreds of options under this. It could be very useful for someone. Now I'm going to close the voiceover utility. The next section is Hearing. And the first tab under this section is Audio. This tab is very simple. We only have flash the screen when an alert sound occurs. The flash looks like this, and then we have the option of playing stereo audio as mono. The next tab is Captions. I couldn't get this feature to work at all. I tried it on a couple of different websites and a DVD. The next section is Interacting, and the first tab under this is Keyboard. The first feature under Keyboard is Sticky Keys. Allows modifier keys to be set without having to hold the key down. This means when you have a function like copy or save, you can hit the command key and let go, and then hit S, or whatever function you want to perform. This could be useful for someone with limited motor control. Under Options, we have pressed the Shift key 5 times to toggle sticky keys. Next there is Beep when modifier key is set. The last option is Display pressed keys on screen. And we can pick the location of where that is displayed, top right, top left, bottom right or bottom left. The next option under Keyboard is Slow Keys. Adjusts the amount of time between when a key is pressed and when it is activated. Again, this could be very useful for motor control issues. Let's say if someone had limited typing skills and their fingers press keys briefly by accident. Under Options we have Use Click Key Sounds and Acceptance Delay. The next tab is Mouse and Trackpad. I personally use a Kensington Slim Blade trackball, which has its own driver that meets my special needs, so I can't really test these features myself, but I'll go through them anyway. The first option is Mouse Keys. Allows the mouse pointer to be controlled using the keyboard number pad. I tried using this feature through my device, and it didn't work with the number keys. My MacBook Pro doesn't have a number pad, and I had my assistant try the regular numbers, and they didn't work either. Anyway, under Options we have pressed the Option key 5 times to toggle mouse keys. Next there is Ignore, built-in trackpad when mouse keys is on. The next option is Initial Delay. The last option is Maximum Speed. Next we have Double Click Speed. And then there's Ignore, built-in trackpad when mouse wireless trackpad is present. Next we have trackpad options. Under this, we have Scrolling Speed, and then we have just Scrolling. Under this we have two options: with inertia, or without inertia. The last option in this window is Enable Dragging. We also have two options under this: without drag lock, and with drag lock. I'll just hit done on this. Next we have mouse options. Under this we just have scrolling speed. The next tab under interacting is switch control. I found the out-of-the-box settings very confusing and hard to work with. The first thing we need to do is to set up a switch. To do this, we go under switches and go to the plus sign. Click our switch so the computer detects it, and then we have to name and assign it an action. I'm going to assign it to select item. Although I'm strongly against switch scanning for anyone, unless it's the only option there is, I have to say Mac did a great job with adding this feature, and I'm going to select auto scanning. Let's next go to the navigation tab. Under here we have a few options we can change. The first one is, while navigating under this, we have do nothing, speak selection, play sound or speak and play sound. I'm going to leave it on do nothing. Next there's restart position, and under here we have after cursor, from start of group, or from the top. I'm going to leave it after cursor. The next thing is switch control cursor size. Under here we have small, medium or large. I'm going to leave it on small. Next, gliding cursor precision. The gliding cursor is something I'll explain more in a minute. Under here we have low or high. The last option is loops. We can set this anywhere between 1 and 10. I'm going to set it on 5. Next we have the timing tab. In my opinion, this is the most important tab under switch control. Under this we can hide after an activity, and we can set that for how many seconds or minutes we want to. But I'm going to leave it unchecked. Next we have gliding cursor speed. The default setting is 5, that is, a little fast for me. But I'll explain that in more detail in a minute. Next we have hold duration. Again we can set this in seconds. This means how long we have to hold down on the switch before the computer accepts it. I'm going to leave this at 0. But this could be a really useful setting if you were working with someone that might not be able to fully stop moving their body part that activates the switch. The same for the next option. We have ignore switch repeats. Again we set in intervals of seconds. The next pair of settings is what really helped me to get liking switch control. The next two settings are auto scanning interval in panels and auto scanning interval in interface. Both of these were set to 0.5 seconds as default. I ended up bumping them up to 1.5 seconds each. And last option under timing is pause on first item. And I'm going to leave this as 0. Now we need to go back over to the General tab. I'm going to enable switch control now. For an example in this video, I'm going to go red and respond to an email in Microsoft Outlook. But first, let's get familiar with the navigation panel. I will be going into more detailed description about some of these items as we're completing our task. The first item on this panel is keyboard. The second one is pointer. The third one is app. The fourth one is dock. The fifth one is menu bar. The sixth one is system. The seventh one is custom. And the last one is location. The first item we want is dock, so I have to click the switch to get it to start scanning. And we wait until the scanning cursor gets over to it, and then click the switch. As you can see, our scanning cursor jumps down to the dock instead of staying in the navigation panel. I have to click the switch again to get it to start scanning. And then once it reaches Outlook, I click again. Let's say we want the message in the middle. Well, I'm going to select the pointer tab, and on this tab I'm going to choose move. This brings up the gliding cursor, which first gives us a vertical bar which spans the height of the screen, and about 3 inches wide. This starts moving across the screen when it reaches the general region of the screen that we want. We click the switch, and then it brings up a small blue line to position the final vertical point that we want the mouse cursor to be located on the screen, and then we get a horizontal point the same way. And then we go over and select left click. As we can see, this message has attachments. I'm going to talk about the fastest way we can save the attachments and reply to this message. We could use the gliding cursor, but would that be the easiest and fastest way to complete this task? We could go through the menus to complete this task. Let's think about how many clicks that would take us, and the scanning time that would be wasted going through items that we don't need to complete this task. We could use the on-screen keyboard and do the keyboard shortcuts to do the typing as well as the navigation. But that would also be pretty time-consuming. As I was doing this review, I thought, wouldn't it be nice if there were macros of some keyboard shortcuts? Well, we can program in custom buttons. Let's go back to the accessibility window. I'm going to turn switch control off for now. I'm going to come down here and hit open panel editor. I've already started building a custom menu, so I already have a few buttons on here. I want to add a button, so I go to add button. Let's do save all attachments. First we have to name it. Let's name it all attachments. I'm going to leave size and style alone. Now let's move the button to right under reply. I'm going to go down to button action and choose press keys. Now record, the shortcut to save all attachments is Command E. Let's close the panel editor. Turn switch control back on and get back to Outlook. Now I want to save all of the attachments in this email. To do this, I'm going to go to custom and then test. In here is our custom buttons. So I'll go to all attachments. I'll just save the attachments in the folder that came up by going to keyboard and hitting enter. Now we want to get out of keyboard screen. We do this by hitting the back button. I actually had to create that keyboard for our custom menu because the default keyboard had no way of going back to the previous menu you were in. It had the home button that takes you clear back to the main menu. Anyway, let's hit reply. Now let's get back into our keyboard. The keyboard has word prediction, which is really nice and can greatly speed up someone's communication. Let's send this message and go back to the main menu. I want to hide Outlook. We'll do this by using the menu bar. I'm going to show one more thing with switch control, that is the system button on the main menu. Under this menu we can control the volume and stuff. The last tab in accessibility is speakable items. With this feature you're supposed to be able to give the computer voice commands. This feature did so bad in my testing of it that I'm not even going to go over the options of this feature. For one, it wouldn't recognize my communication device at all. So I had my assistant try to use it. And it only worked about a quarter of the time. I even tried an external microphone. That didn't help at all. That is all of the features under accessibility, but I want to talk about something that is in system preference. This is dictation and speech. First, we have dictation. This feature is pretty cool. But I did get a little confused with turning it on. Even if the dictation is set to on, you have to do the keyboard shortcut, or go in the edit menu of whatever application you are in, to make it active. I would highly recommend you use enhanced dictation. If you don't use this option, everything you say gets sent to Apple to get analyzed, and then it gets sent back to your computer. Language is set to English by default. We can add languages. it has an okay amount of languages to pick from. Under Shortcut, we have a few different options. As you can see, like press right or left command key twice. Or we can do a customized key shortcut. But I wouldn't recommend doing a custom shortcut, due to it might conflict with another shortcut that you don't know about. Let's go into Word and try this out. I already have a blank document started, so I'll just active keyboard shortcut. I've figured out it's best to speak in whole paragraphs or sentences. If you try to go word by word, it doesn't put a space after each word. Here's an example. OSX's dictation works like this. If you want to put a punctuation at the end, you wait a couple of seconds, and then say the punctuation that you want. Like period. I'll get out of Word now. The next tab under Dictation and Speech is Text-to-Speech. Under this tab, we can change the system voice and rate, like we could in VoiceOver. We can also have it announce when alerts are displayed. To activate this feature, we highlight text and press Option and Escape. Let's bring up our Word document and try it. Let's press Command A to select all. And now we'll press Option and Escape to listen to our text.
Is this we're supposed to talk, but I don't sorry already have a blank document started, so I will just activate keyboard shortcuts. I figured out it's best to speak in whole paragraphs or sentences. If you try to go word by word, it doesn't put a space after each word. Here is an example of OS X's dictation. It works like this. If you want to put punctuation at the end, you wait a couple of seconds and then send a punctuation that you want. I will get out of Word now.
The last option we have is to have clock announce the time. And under Open Date and Time Preferences, we have announced the time. And we can choose on the hour, on the half hour, or on the quarter hour. And again, we can customize the voice, like we have before. That completes this video. Thank you for watching.